Right, Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Right, we started something called the Muslim Woman's Hour because we don't have anything for ourselves and we need to start making stuff. So we have the idea of we needed to speak about autism in the Muslim community because there's not much out there for us at the moment, and it looks very hard to try and collate everything together in order for us to have some sort of archive or signposting. So my name is Dr. Rachel Sara Lewis. I'm a mum of 5 biological children. My child that has autism is 7 years old. Lovely, beautiful soul. He is the light and sometimes the pain of our household uh, because he just likes to torment people and he thinks it's hilarious. Until my neurotypical children are fed up with him and then decide to sit on him. By trade, I am a teacher and lecturer. So all of my children are home educated, bar one. The eldest is gone into mainstream education now, her own choice. I totally support that, but the rest of them are all home educated and thriving. Saba,
Alhamdulillah.
to go ahead, introduce yourself.
Did you say me? Sorry.
Yes, I did.
Oh, sorry. Hi, my name's Sabia. I am a mum of 4. My child is 14 years old and she is neurodiverse. I work for the organisation called MENCAP, the Royal MENCAP Society, which is a UK-based charity that works towards an inclusive Britain. And I also run my own organisation supporting Muslim mums' well-being, specifically those that have children or care for children that have those additional needs or emerging needs. And that is based in Rochdale.
So anything that you guys have that you want me to signpost people to, please drop all emails and everything into the chat or text them to me later and I'll add them to wherever I'm posting this.
That's fine. No
Farah.
worries.
Farah?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Farah. I'm a journalist and broadcaster by trade. I have 2 children. My son has autism and other special needs, and he's now 21. I'm based in London, and I run a WhatsApp group for carers and disabled Muslims, and a lot of it's SEN. So I give advice to usually mums about how to navigate the system in terms of special education, needs education, and social care, because I've learnt from bitter experience how and what you have to go through. So I just want to be able to help other people so that they don't have to suffer in the way that we did.
Much needed. Much needed, mashallah. Okay, so in the idea we have autism presents unique challenges in the Muslim community, influenced by both cultural, social, and religious factors. So we have a triple whammy going on there, as well as the outside world ostracizing our children, and thinking about those sorts of things. But what we really want to start with today is the stigma and the misunderstandings that autism really gets within the Muslim community, and the fact that nobody really knows how to deal with autistic children. So they tend to be either ill provided for or just outside of the realm of possibility of dealing with. So things like summer camp that will be available for neurotypical children, they don't have the capacity to deal with neurodivergent children. So if we talk about stigmas and misunderstandings in general, so if we think I've had lots of different ideas of people telling me how autism came to be, and I think a lot of it is superstitious. And then we're told that sometimes it's a mental illness or it's jinn possession. I've been told that I need to get him looked at by a sheikh because obviously it's jinn possession that's causing him to need to stir or to stim when he's overwhelmed. Go ahead, sister.
Yeah, I was just saying that that's a really common misconception within the Muslim community, is jinn possession or evil eye or Dawies is another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very common misconception, especially within the South Asian community. I don't know if it's like that within other communities, but talking with and supporting the South Asian community, that seems to be a very hot topic. Is there is a Dawees, there is jinn possession, and X, Y, and Z needs to be put in place in order to kind of help that child and get that child back to normal. Which is infuriating because there's nothing wrong with them, but that's what they think and that's what they seem to believe. And this seems to be a certain generation. I think people are getting better at understanding it. It seems to be within the South Asian Muslim community, it seems to be that older generation that you'll get these kind of comments thrown at you, I feel like, and said to you that really kind of play on a mother and father's minds a lot, and it's not a very nice place to be when you do hear those types of things.
It most definitely isn't a great place to be. But then we talk about the idea of facing things like social ostracization, also the idea of embarrassment. So you should be embarrassed that your child is overstimulated in a situation where neurotypical children are fine.
Yeah.
And you're expected to be embarrassed or to sort of, in a way, hide your child.
Oh, yeah.
Or control them.
Yeah.
I remember when my son was 18 months old and he hadn't been diagnosed at that stage, and he had a meltdown at a wedding. And I remember members of my relatives passing very unkind comments, saying that, oh, well, when I have children, they'll be well behaved and this type of thing. And very, very hurtful. And obviously it was overstimulation because there was all that noisy wedding, it was hot. And it just went on. And I think there's a real problem about having a welcome space at events, whether it seems to be a situation where people don't want to include our children. If you go there, there are facilities for special educational needs. If they have I've been, for example, I went to some, I remember years ago, to some lecture at Cambridge University trying to learn about, from, I think, Sheikh Akram Nafi, but they had a play area for children, but they couldn't accommodate my child because he had special needs. And so when he started to get agitated, I had to just leave and come back to London. I'd spent a lot of money and I'd gone there, and it was just really, really upsetting.
Yeah, they did, aren't they? Because of the stigma and the misunderstandings around neurodivergent children. There's so many barriers, and there is no inclusivity. Within just like masjids,
Absolutely.
I really feel like masjids should be the heart of the community. Here in Rochdale, I managed to get one masjid on board, and it now has a send session every Friday. Because I just, I said to them that you're not inclusive. This is a place where mothers want to come. They want their children to come. They want them to learn. But where is there? There was nothing, and wider to that, there is very far and few places that will welcome our children and let them be themselves and have that space for them to be themselves. It's so far and few, and it is really upsetting, because what do you do then? And that's the hard bit. What do you do? Thankfully, alhamdulillah, it is getting more recognition, and with things like this taking place, like this podcast, inshallah, and and all the respected sisters that will be on this podcast, hopefully we can shed some light and empower our parents to kind of voice this within the community, and move our generations ahead, inshallah.
And it happens regardless of whether we stay in the UK or disappear into a hijra to anywhere else. It's the idea that even when we're looking at plans to build a masjid, we need to include our SEND children or our SEND adults, because you have a lot of people who, say for instance, even something as simplistic as deafness. It's not a new thing. It's been going on for generations, and there's nothing really in place for deaf Muslims either.
Yeah, nothing. Just disability as a whole. We're not a very, disability friendly. I wouldn't even say friendly. Just
inclusive.
Anything
I would
added
absolutely agree. I mean,
to
for example, you know, even after school clubs for Muslims, like they have like ones which teach you about Islam, not just Mother does, but that's a separate thing. But even like when I tried to, you know, take my son, I was told, well, no, we don't have any provision for special educational needs. And I said, well, that's against the Equality Act. They said, well, we don't have anybody to. I said, but then you should have, you know, someone who's like a teaching assistant who's, you know, who's trained in special needs to be able to cater for people. And I could find no one to teach my son Quran, and I tried for years. But the other thing is that if you send your child with autism, you can't send your child with autism to a mother's side because it's noisy and they've got sensory issues. So they can't cope with a group situation, a large group situation. They need more of a one-to-one. But you can't find one-to-one because people don't have the training. And then they say, well, why don't you do it online? But if your child has autism, they need to physically hear and see the person to be able to learn. And so we had to wait till now, and my son's an adult now. He's, subhanallah, it turns out the one of the where I moved and where I am, there's a mosque that is actually teaching adults from scratch. So he's going along and he's learning hifz, which is amazing. But all those years I was so stressed thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to, you know, I mean, I tried to teach him, and obviously I can read Quran, but I don't have correct Arabic tajweed, and I wanted to learn from, you know, the correct pronunciation, not the Pakistani pronunciation. So I was worried about, you know, teaching, you know, incorrect tajweed. So anyway, now, alhamdulillah, he's being taught by a scholar, so that's really good.
But that's the issue, isn't it? It's problematic. It's problematic in the idea that they're already facing a level of ostracization from the outside world on the basis that they are a Muslim and also an ethnic minority. But then now you're further facing that sort of ostracization inside of the community that's supposed to embrace you, which then they wonder why our children want to be by themselves, because you're making them feel othered again. So they're being othered and then internally othered. So, and then the parents are in a situation where you don't want to put your child in a situation where your child feels unsafe, or you feel that they are going to be unsafe or ridiculed because of how they may perceive something or act in a certain way. And then you choose not to send them to these places, or you choose for them not to engage. And if they don't engage, eventually it's going to become a point where they become a recluse because they don't go anywhere and they don't do anything. But as a mother, your instinct is to protect them from things that won't necessarily embrace them.
That's it. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I think as a mother with a child with that is neurodivergent, you're always anxious. Every time you go out, you're always anxious. Well, I've got past that stage though, but at the beginning, I was really anxious. Who's going to say something? What's going to happen? You know, I couldn't do journey. This was before my daughter was diagnosed. You know, the wedding thing, that was a big thing. You know, I stopped going to weddings then. I was just like, sorry, just can't do it. This was before she was diagnosed. And then car journeys, you know, she couldn't. The car journey itself was overwhelming. You know, you got and then it did get to a point. Then I had my second child, and I tried to go out. You know, as you do, there's 2 years between them. You want to do things like Sure Star or the centres, and couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because it was too overwhelming for my eldest child, and the anxiety kicked in. And I look back and reflect now, and I think, was I, you know, did I have postnatal depression? Because of induced by the anxiety of going out and what would be said to me. I look back and I can probably think, well, I probably nearly did actually, because I did get myself really isolated purely because of the things that, and it's not only the community, sometimes family can be harsh. Sometimes families, you know, they say like the deeper your love is, the harder the hurt. Sometimes family members can really hurt with their comments and things, especially I think when it's very new to the family, they've not seen it, and they don't know
the first child.
The first child, and it's like, you know, all this stuff. So it does induce that anxiety. Now I've got over it. You know, I'm well empowered to say, you know, my daughter will rock up at a wedding. It's like, if you want me to be there, she's going to rock up in her kind of her loose baggy joggers, her loose t-shirt, her hijab. She's going to sit in the corner and she's going to have her iPad and her book to read on. And I don't care. You know, if you want me there, you want me there. I have to make a space for my child to feel comfortable. So that's, you know, but you do go through stages, and you have to be really empowered in order to get to that point. So like, yeah, I'm just like, this is, and if my daughter gets overwhelmed, she'll come up to me like, Mom, we need to go. I'm like, right, okay, everybody, I will see you later, because my daughter and her mental health, as well as my mental health, they come first.
Mm. It does, and it's even harder when you don't have the diagnosis and you've chosen not to go down the route of diagnosis.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, you even like at the back of your mind as a mum, especially when you have children, it's sort of the idea of, okay, I see this child and I eventually see that you're going to become someone's husband or wife eventually. And I'm thinking to myself, how do we go about that? Like, what are we thinking? How are we feeling? My husband's like, he's 7, please. Just give him a break. And I'm like, but your brain switches off at a certain time of day and you go to bed. My brain doesn't switch off because I'm forever going to be anxious about how the world will perceive him, how the world will accept him. But then it's also the idea of, has my need not for him to be diagnosed, but I am aware of what's going on, make it I'm seen as reluctant in seeking a diagnosis or treatment because I don't particularly want to go down the route of him being put on pills. I want him to find a way to regulate himself. Or
You don't have to,
give him at least enough time to be able to regulate himself.
But I could just say that I've always resisted that, because when for a start, if it's autism, there are no pills.
Yeah.
If it's ADHD, they do try and force you onto that. They did try that with my son, and I've looked into it and discovered that actually the harm far outweighs the good. And there have been cases of impacts on the heart, and also it can make people more impulsive than they already are with ADHD. And it's interesting, a friend of mine sent me an email yesterday, which is really shocking. They're now wanting to get non-doctors issuing medication for ADHD. Well, that's very dangerous, because you can get a heart attack. It has to be monitored, and you know, they're just handing them out like Smarties, and I don't think that's a good idea. And you know, I have managed to support my son without medication, and he doesn't want to take it either. So, you know, it is possible to get through. That is harder, because obviously if someone has ADHD as well, it's hard to focus. But if they're autistic, they tend to have like a special gift in something. And that's the thing I would like to say to the parents with younger children, that keep an eye out. See what is it that your child likes doing. Because when my child was when he was a baby, when he started 2 years old, he liked to go on my computer, like to fiddle with it. And I used to type a lot, but he really liked it. And I thought, that's interesting. So I used to buy him techie things, and I bought him like an advanced phone, and then I bought him, computer equipment and he started to build computers. And now, alhamdulillah, he's got a job as a software engineer, So he's teaching himself code. So, there is hope, Everyone is at a different level. I was told, for example, that my son wouldn't even be able to do GCSEs. And I said, no, that's not, I don't accept that. And I taught him myself. And within 2 weeks of the school holidays, the school had complained about me to the local authorities, saying, oh, she's insisting that he do GCSEs, he's entry level. And in 2 weeks, I brought him up to GCSE level, which shows how poor the teaching was in that special school. Yeah. And I just taught him a lot, did cramming. He wasn't very amused, but anyway, he got through. And then when we went to college, they didn't want to take him. They said, oh, we've had them before. I said, what do you mean them? Autistic people
it's
before.
Like a whole bunch.
So rude.
That's the thing that makes me not want to seek a diagnosis on that idea, because he's home educated, I can make his world his at home, and making it really easy for him. But I've watched him sit through, say, for instance, a maths textbook. He would be, if he was in school academically, year 3, but his math skills are phenomenal. So to watch him go through that, he's probably about 3 or 4 years ahead of where he should be in maths. And if you look on our back wall over here, there's like a piece of paper hanging down. It's actually, he taught himself how to recognize how vectors work using toy cars. I was teaching
Right.
vectors to his teenage sister. She wasn't getting it, and he explained it to her, and he's 7,
It's amazing.
right?
Yeah.
So his
I mean,
ability to communicate with her because he knows her so well, but then also for him to have this understanding that I could find another way to do this, because whenever I don't understand, mum finds another way, and it's on the spot. It's quite
Yeah.
easy. It seems like you have to become an expert of your own child in
Oh,
order
yeah.
to advocate for your child. But then
Yeah.
as a parent, you have to have really thick skin in order for
Mm.
your child to thrive. And I feel for those sisters who have always been told, oh, have sabr, be quiet, be meek, be mild, don't really say much, don't stir the pot, because they then have 1 or 2 children who are not neurodivergent, then they have, or neurodiverse, and then they have one child who is there. I call him my dynamite kid, because he blew everything out of the water. Everything that I had in place, he just said, yeah, do you know what, lady, it's not going to happen like that. And he blew it all up. So it's the idea that because you have that adaptability to do things with him, I think a lot of our sisters, it's not just necessarily just education in a sense, it's more of a sense that they lack the awareness of things that they could do to change the outcome.
Yeah.
can I just chip in there? The other problem that I find, well, I found actually in across, because I put my child in many different schools. I kept changing when I wasn't, when I discovered how poor the education was. So, and I found in most places the expectations are so low
Yeah.
that that unless you push against that, your child will not amount to much. If I had, it's quite a revelation. It's quite revelation, or instructive rather, that I had taken my son out of the school he was at because I felt he was much cleverer than the other children of that school, and I went to tribunal, took the local authority tribunal, managed to get him into a specialist autistic school, and then even then the teaching wasn't up to standard. So like I said, I talked to him at home myself as well, and years later when he went to college, the people who were originally in his class at school were doing foundation level at college, and he was level 3 advanced IT level. So that just shows you that the gap had widened because I had put the effort in. So it's worth putting the effort in. Like I said, all of our children are different, their needs are different, but they will have, if they're autistic, Allah has given them a gift and something. So you need to push that and encourage them in that, because that can become their profession in the end, because they like it, they'll have a special deep interest in it, and they'll know it to such a depth. I mean, for example, now, I mean, for my son, I mean, he's managed to get a job where they were looking for somebody at master's level, but actually he doesn't have a degree. But because he's teaching himself all the time, coding, and they were so impressed that they gave him an internship and now they've given him a job. So I'm so delighted, and it's such a peace of mind after all these years of struggle to see that actually that there is hope. And I'd like to give reassurance to other people that it's very scary at the beginning, because I was when you first told that your child has autism, it's really scary, and you don't know anything about it, and you just worry about the future, because it's like a bereavement in a way.
Yeah.
And it's hard for the child to accept, and you don't know where it's going to end, what the future is going to be, so you're constantly under stress. And I would also say that if you have faith, then have tawakkul in life, because it's hard to hand it over, but actually I wish I had, because then it would be a lot less stressful. Not saying that it won't be stressful along the way, but you have to keep fighting for the support that your child needs. And I mean, obviously you're doing outside the system.
Yeah.
I did it in the system. So it's quite useful, actually. I think it's helpful for people to know, both sides.
But it can be
Not everybody can do the home education because they may not have the qualifications to do it. And also it's very hard, as you know, to manage, the meltdowns and all the rest of it, the needs that they have. And if you've got other children, and if you can manage the home, it takes its toll. It's very, very hard on parents to bring up a child with special needs. It's really, really draining, because you're fighting. If you're in the system, and like I say, I know from it's not just me, and I know from lots of legal cases and from my WhatsApp group that all the parents in the same situation. It's fighting the system to get helpful social care support, to get the right educational placement or support at school or in a special school, and then also trying to get the right medical treatment. It's such a battle. it's just endless, and it's so stressful because it's hard enough coping with your child, trying to bring them up without having to fight the system. And there's quite interesting blog that people might find interesting to look up, which I came across very late, because what used to happen was you'd have annual reviews for the education healthcare plan,
Yes.
where basically all the professionals basically gang up on the parent and try to make out that the parent's the problem if you raise issues or concerns. So there's actually a blog called It Must Be Mum, written by 3 mums of children with Asperger's, and basically everything that I went through, they have written about. And I just thought, wow, so it's not just me, you know. They make out that no, we don't have problems anymore, but actually every single parent you speak to who's got a child special goes through the same thing. And it's awful, because you think that the professionals are going to be there to support your child, but actually they're there as gatekeepers to prevent you getting the funding, because the funding basically is not sufficient to go around.
And I think a lot of that is because, in a way, as mums with children with autism, we spend so long trying to protect our children that we've forgotten that we're not alone. And looking at the community that you're in, you should be able to find somebody, be it via a WhatsApp group, be it via a community group, be it via the masjid, anywhere where a group of sisters can get together and support each other who have children with autism. Say to them, okay, fine, let's have a morning tea, for instance. We're going to take over the masjid main hall 1 day a week, and we're going to say, okay, all of you come, whether you've got children with autism or not children with autism, and I'm going to teach you what autism is all about. And I'm going to say to you, these are the criteria or things that you may need to look out for your children, but we all live in the same local authority. So this is how the local authority may or may not treat you. And if you go down that route where you want a diagnosis, you have an EHCP, when it comes to your annual review, this is the form they're going to give you. This is what you need to do. And a lot of that would help so much if those particular people within your community don't speak the language of the country, because some of those forms are really confusing. If English is your primary language, it is so confusing. I've helped people try and apply for personal independence payments for their children, PIP or DLA when it was DLA. I looked at that thing and I said, are you sure this is a form or a booklet? Like, are you rewriting the Constitution of the United States, or are you filling in a form?
It's deliberate. It's deliberate to grind people down so that they don't go through that. Honestly, it is horrendous. It's still DLA, I think, until they get to the age of 16.
Okay.
Yeah.
The form was ridiculous. It was like, how far? And some of it is not even applicable. So if you had a form that had a flow chart, for instance, that said, okay, questions 1, 3, and 5, 7, 17, and 25, if your child is diagnosed with autism. Because if your child is diagnosed with autism and then hypermobility and then so many other things, then you may have to fill out the whole form. But if you are just asking for help with travel, or a bit of extra help because your child chews their clothes, for instance, when they're stimming, or they may need to go to a specialist barber for their haircuts. And that's another thing in our community, they don't exist.
Yeah, they exist.
They really don't exist. You see them on YouTube, like, but they're all in America. I'm not flying to the USA for a specialist haircut. So
I had to become a hairdresser. I had to become
exactly. But then the whole thing is in I'm from the Afro-Caribbean community. So we spoke to our barber and he said, oh, okay, what is it that's causing the issue? And it's the ability to speak out again, isn't it? That's coming into play. What is it about his autism that makes it really hard for him to have a haircut? Because at one point, this 7-year-old boy had afro hair that he sat on. Braiding his hair was a nightmare. Absolute nightmare. He wouldn't get it cut. So we took him to the, eventually he said, I want it cut. It's too heavy. It's hurting me. I just want it off, because that caused another overstimulation issue. But when we spoke to the barber, he was like, oh, okay, there's a new set of clippers that have come out and they have a lower hum. And then they have a silencing issue with the hum.
Really? I could have done with that.
Right,
oh my
exactly.
God.
So if I say to you, no problem, I'm going to charge you for 1.5 haircuts because I need to take the extra time, most parents would go, do you know what? 100%, go ahead. I know you've got to make your money, and I know that my child needs a haircut. I am willing to work with you on this. So he sits facing me we work on his spellings, and he gets a haircut.
Brilliant. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. If you'll have the ability to go ahead and say to people, I need X, Y,
It's voicing that, isn't it? And I think from what I'm gathering from this conversation and the support that I give to the Muslim community that I'm in, mothers, we underestimate the power of a mother.
Yeah.
A mother can do things that no other person on the planet of the earth can do. A mother knows her child more than anybody else on the planet of the earth.
Yeah.
A mother knows her needs and wants of the child's needs and wants. You know, a mother reads her child when they don't even need to speak. And this is what comes through with this, because home education will work for some people.
Yeah.
Private education will work for some people. State education will work for some people. No education will work for some people. You know, we've just got to balance it out. And you'll get a gist of that when they get to a certain level, that what is working. And I would say to parents, it's trial and error.
Yeah.
Don't give up. It's trial and error. You know, my daughter went from being in nursery, she was hyperlexic. She's been speaking since forever and a day, and she's an absolute bookworm. Hyperlexic in nursery, fine, no problem. Got to primary school. Oh, ya Allah. You know, by getting into year 2, I would say that was it. You know, everything, it was just not going right. By 6 months, I pulled her out. Her mental health was a mess.
Yeah.
And it was horrendous. I had a child that just didn't want to go into school. She just absolutely hated it. So homeschooled. So I've been through all the work. So homeschooled for a while. Now, my daughter, she thrived to a certain degree, but because this was her comfort zone, learning was difficult. As much of as a maybe kind of semi-structured routine we tried to keep with her, she just couldn't do it. And then alhamdulillah, there was a small independent Islamic school that was taking on no more than 12 children per class. I was like, let's just give this a try. What's the worst that can happen, right? Because you're that child's parent. You're going to try whatever is going to work for you.
Yeah.
She's still in there. She's going to start her GCSEs next year. Alhamdulillah. She thrived in there. And why? Because the teachers made an effort to understand my child. They are like second mothers to her. When my daughter is in hospital, who comes and visit her? The head teachers. The teachers come and they'll send cards, and you know who's on the other end of the phone when my daughter's poorly and they know she's in hospital or she's at home and she's because my daughter also has a medical condition.
Yeah.
She's had, she was diagnosed at the age of 3. It's called nephrotic syndrome. You will be aware of it. But she has, a really kind of, let me say, it's steroid resistant. She's been studied because her nephrotic syndrome is kind of, it's a very different kind of nephrotic syndrome. So, she's been on things like rituximab and chemotherapy and every type of thing. But who has been on the other side for me? My school was the biggest support mechanism. They were there and they're still there to this day. I can let them know if something's going on. I can, the head teacher's like, just drop me a text message. If it's been a hard morning and you're struggling to get up, just drop me a message. It was communication.
Yeah.
Communication, and that relationship helped my daughter thrive. And that was key to it. And like I said, it's mothers know the child better than anything. You know what's best for your child, and you're home educating him. You know what he thrives under, and the other sister, she knows what is best for her child, and he's thriving. And she's tried different mechanisms, but now she knows what works for him. She understands that he's learning at his own pace, he's doing his own thing, and it's what he's interested in. So I say to any mother out there, work on what you know. You are the best advocate for your child. You know your child better than anybody else. Connect with your child on that level. And inshallah, and don't stop making dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take care of all affairs, and the past is the past. And I think another thing as well that we need to talk about and discuss as well is this mum guilt. What if I done this? What if I done that? This is another massive thing within our community. Not within our community, I just say as mothers. As mothers, we carry this mom guilt, right? If I'd done this, maybe this might have been different. If you know, I had you know, I was profusely sick. The words not even coming into my head. When you're just really sick all the time. With every pregnancy, I was sick until the child was born, right? I was medication because I just couldn't function, you know, and I went through the stage of, well, what if I didn't have that medicine? What if I'd done this? No, let go of it, because, you know, this is a qada of Allah. We are focusing on Muslim women's right. This is a qada of Allah. Allah doesn't tell us, you know, we work ourselves into a state of anxiety because we think about the past and what ifs. And then we start thinking about the future and the what ifs there. So live in the present time.
We have to learn. I think as a community, we have to learn to live in the moment, right?
Yeah, live
It-
in the present time.
But then it's also the idea of finding that appropriate interventions for your child and
Yeah,
using those interventions in a way that's best for the child, not necessarily in the way that the interventions are prescribed.
yeah,
Because you could have something where you've got a child who's autistic, but they struggle with handwriting, for instance. Getting them something like a pencil grip, but then being fine to cut off one of the finger loops because it's just not working or vibing for that particular child. It is that idea of the reason why we went down the route of definitely home educating this one is I needed to give him a personalized education. His education had to be so specialized that it was just cookie cut for him. I'm not, and then the whole thing is with special schools, if they're not specialist autistic schools or schools that specialize in autism, that could be verbal or non-verbal, because even on that spectrum of autism, we have children who don't speak at all, and we have some that have selective mutism, and then we have some that are further along that spectrum and talk way too much. So, and that's usually the girls, and that's how the girls present is very linguistic and the ability to voice their opinions, but they tend to not have the same filtration system that other girls that are not on the spectrum have. So they will tell you what they think, when they think, and how they think it.
I've had quite a few times.
Exactly. So it's sort of he says some really out of the box things sometimes. And
It's very painful though,
but
because
you've also got to be able to handle the embarrassment, right?
oh gosh, yeah,
The loving embarrassment of the strange questions.
yeah,
I think I give you an example. So we were in Boots, the pharmacy,
yeah,
and Boots in our locality has a breastfeeding room, and I have his younger sister.
yeah.
So there's a 4-year gap between him and our toddler. And I was breastfeeding her when she was a lot younger, and I sort of said to him, okay, we're going to go into the breastfeeding room. And his question was, but this is a breastfeeding room. That woman's got a bottle. Why is she in here? It's not like she's going to be showing anything, is it? And I was like, oh, dude, it's not a feeding room. It's not a breastfeeding room. And he was like, yeah, but I understand why you would need to come in here. But why does she need to come in here? Am I allowed to go ask her? But the whole thing is he has no volume control. So the woman already heard him.
I've had it myself. I can feel
I
it.
have
I
so
can
It's
feel.
like everything's top pitch.
Do you know what?
The
I
loudest volume.
get past that point where you're just like, he's actually telling the truth.
He actually has a point here,
It's a
but
good
this
point.
is not the point you want to make right now.
I have really funny ones. I took him to a park when he was about 6 years old, or maybe younger, I can't remember, 5. And obviously I brought him up to be, you know, like in a Muslim family, so obviously we cover ourselves. So there's a woman lying on the ground without a bra on, and you could see part. So he said to her, why are you not wearing a bra?
Why are you not wearing any clothes? Like,
He said, why are you not wearing a bra? And so she looked really embarrassed. I don't know what to say.
well, you see,
But
that's
he
the
was right. I
problem.
mean, he was right. But you know, and it was, you know, it was like a lot of it was hanging out, and you know, it was in a park, you know. So I was very embarrassed, but I thought actually he's right.
It's right,
He is
yeah.
right. He is right because it's the lack of the filter that makes them so enjoyable to be around.
Yeah,
Because you want to
definitely.
get an honest opinion all the time, whether you want it or not.
whether you want it or not, yes.
Whether you want it or not. Sometimes we have to hear it as well, though. Like,
Oh
I
yeah,
remember, like, sometimes, like, you'll be saying stuff, and my daughter, especially, she was like, but why are you saying it like that? Or
yeah.
it used to be,
Why don't you say it like this? But then they
yeah,
don't
why
say
is
it in the same volume you said it to them. It's sort of like the whole world needs to hear.
Definitely. And then the favorite one that I got was you know how our parents used to give us the look.
Yes. Why are you looking at me like that for?
Are you looking at in a room, busy room, or is there something happening, and you're just trying to give a bit of a look that, what are you doing? And then
What are you staring at me like that for? I'm like, really, kiddo? Really? Right now, you're going to question why I'm looking at you like that. The woman is embarrassed. Yeah, it's enough. Stop talking. And he goes, but I'm only telling the truth. And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, do I regret telling you to tell the truth?
yeah.
And he goes, but
Oh,
Allah said I should tell the truth. And then you can't say anything else.
I love it. You know, and it's just so masum. It's just so masum.
It's
There's
just,
nothing to it. You know, it's just they're just saying it. You know, and there's no you know
there's no malice intent behind it.
it's intent. It's so masum. They're so innocently just saying it.
It's just, I thought it. There was no filter, and it came out. And
And
it
that's
came out really loud.
really, really loud. And
Really.
my daughter doesn't do it now, but I remember going through that, say roughly about your child's age,
Yeah.
even younger. She eventually did grow out of it, and she understood what kind of saying it quietly or leaving it till later on. She's got to that point now, but honestly, like it wasn't until probably very recently, I've got to give her about a year or something, maybe late 12, and now she's 14. But honestly, like just no filter, and I just love it because you know, some of the things like she would pick up on even adult conversation if she's there, and they might not be talking about, but she would question things that she would hear, you know, and Allah gave that ability to them. And sometimes, you know, what I used to do is it makes you reflect that, oh, actually, you know,
Maybe I
some,
am doing this wrong.
yeah,
Yeah. But
yeah.
he said something really weird the other day. He was like, Mom. I was like, oh goodness. Yeah. And you know when they sort of call you and you look around just to see who's there because you don't know what's going to come out of this person. So you're not quite sure. You're really not quite sure what to do. So I sort
Oh,
of go, so we now have this code idea of, is it something you can say now,
yeah.
or is this something we should save till we get to the car? And he goes,
Because
he
can I
says,
just
no, I can say it now. And he's like, but I think what you were talking about because he came to my sister's circle, which was I don't think I'm ever going to take him there ever again because he picks up on way too much of the nuance. It's really scary sometimes. But he said, do you not think, you know when Allah said women will be clothed but naked? You know these new outfits? It's skin toned and it looks like it fits, like, you know how you said to me it fits like a glove. And you said, yeah, but I think that's what Allah was talking about because I can see everything. And then he points at this woman. Oh,
I was just going to say that in my case, because I stayed in the system, I fought very hard to get my son occupational therapy, speech and language therapy,
yeah.
And I went to tribunal for that. So that is very beneficial in teaching these type of things about what to say when. And I had to do a lot of work with that. So in terms of like, you know, you can say, so she used to do diagrams. You can say this kind of thing to your friends. You can say this thing in the community. You can say what's private. It was really helpful. And you know, I fought very hard to get, you know, for him to have that for quite a number of years. And it really helps people with autism. And also occupational therapy is so important for children with autism because nearly all of them have sensory needs. And if they don't get the sensory input, what's called a sensory diet, they'll have meltdowns and autistic break, and they can't emotionally regulate. So that's really important. So I don't know how I think you mentioned that you know people within the homeschool who can provide that. But for other parents who are in the system, you need to push very hard to get occupational therapy one-to-one, not in a group, and also speech and language therapy one-to-one.
Yeah. And I think, but you know, with that as well, I self-taught myself because there's so much. I mean, I don't know about when your child was younger, but there are so many great resources out there, and it's finding the right resources to actually, because what occupational therapy do now is that, you know, the waiting lists firstly are very, very long, and they will give you 2 or 3 sessions, and now what they even do is they don't even give you that, they do They do a PowerPoint, and literally, this is how it works now. I'm talking about now, right? They will go through a PowerPoint of like 80 slides on sensory needs, different types of sensory needs. They will then give you ideas, and then they'll be like, go and do this. And if it doesn't help, and then come back to us in 6 months. That's the only pathway now to get into occupational therapy. There is no other pathway. You have to do that.
But that's what, no, yeah, that's if you go via the NHS. So when my son was young, basically he just got seen a couple of times, basically, and that was it. So when I put him into a special school, which was, I had to fight to go independent. So when he went to independent school, then I fought to get him the OT in his EHCP once a week, and that helped a hell of a lot. So did the speech and language therapy. I also fought to get physiotherapy, and that helped. He had managed to have it for years, but it wasn't easy because every year it was a fight with the local authority to stop me taking him out. But what a difference, honestly, what a difference. And obviously I did stuff with him at home as well, but that made such a massive difference. And I can't overstress, because I think one of the schools he was in was like a speech and language type school. The lack of OT really showed, because he would have meltdowns. And I remember there was an incident one day when he ended up using a pen. He cut himself across the throat, and he came home and they hadn't even noticed. So I took a photograph of it, and I was freaked out because they were in the lab at the time, and he could have done it with a knife, And
that's the thing, isn't it? It's the amount of specialist requirements that your child necessarily needs, and a lot of special schools are full. It's
yes,
completely
a diagnosis is on the
rise. Crisis. It's a crisis, and getting a diagnosis, put it this way, trying to get any type of support now, like I know you battled it then, it's worse now.
Oh, I'm aware of that, because I have a WhatsApp. Yeah, I'm aware of it. It is getting worse. But I still think you should fight. I still think people should fight as much as you can to get what you can get.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, but it's fighting, and then what I find is, I have a WhatsApp group as well, and I support lots of parent carers on this group, it ranging from children that are now in their 30s, to children that are not even diagnosed, to even smaller children that are born with, say for instance, you've got Down syndrome, you've got global developmental delay. So it's cross border, this. But what I found is that self-empowering yourself with the right tools to fight the battle is necessary. And sometimes, it is so difficult now, is that, you'd rather spend that time and energy wisely. Yes, fight the battle, but at the same time, empower yourself to know what to do for your child, to help your child as well. The mothers are the first teachers of their children, and we've really got to respect the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has gave us that, and that right, in that essence, we should fulfill it to a certain degree. We should fulfill that.
But you have to know what to do. But you have to know what to do. So
empowering yourself and surrounding yourself and getting out there and getting to know what's in the local community, and things like this, listening to things like this, and getting in touch with people in your community. You have to step out of it. You do have to expand. You do have to step out of your comfort zone. And you do, it's about learning, and that's the only way you can, because you can fight battles. There's people that are waiting for a year and a half and 2 years. What are you going to do in
that interim period?
No, you're right. I mean, I went. I mean, I remember now, because it's been a few. I remember going on courses on. Yeah, I went on quite a few courses. One of them was to do with managing challenging behaviour and how to spot just before it's going to go into a meltdown, and then things like that.
I think I took one of those too.
The National Autistic Society still run that course everywhere. Yeah. How to give you a nice fat book and say, here you go, take this home and read it, and then they go through the whole how do you manage. And they do. I mean, this blame culture of parent, they kind of try and say, well, do this parenting course, and then do this parenting course, and then understand this, and which is all fair and lovely, but it just adds again to that parent guilt of is it me?
It's your fault.
I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
your fault. It's our fault. We're not parenting this child properly. That kind of all heads down to that. But even there, even now, the class, the courses that they were doing, say CAMS, for instance, they did run classes for understanding sleep and understanding nutritional needs and things like that. They've had to cut them all off.
Yeah.
All because of funding. So now it literally is. Reach out to your grassroots organizations, reach out to those organizations that are on the ground level, working really hard, to just support parents, because they will be there.
But I think we need to let parents know what they are. I mean, I think a very good one I found was Contact a Family, but they call themselves Contact now.
Yeah,
and the National Autism Society, but they're going through I think they've got funding crisis
at the moment, aren't they? So
the last time I tried to contact them, they said they'd stopped their helpline. That was a few months ago, so I don't know if they've reintroduced that.
That's because they don't have enough. They don't have enough funding in order to do everything that is required of them, because the government has pulled so far away from helping. But then also within the Muslim community, if we had something for ourselves, it would be a lot more of a cultural and religiously appropriate
that's
signposting situation.
That's what I try and provide. So through my own organization, so I do work for the Royal MENCAP Society, which it has hubs everywhere, and we do have people that the project that I specifically lead in Tameside is the family engagement project, working with parents in the early years with children 0 to 5 that have SEND or emerging needs. That's what I do with MENCAP. But on the other side to that, what flourished through me having my own child that is neurodivergent, I put together my own grassroots organization, Zeal.empowerment.advocacy, and that's exactly what I do. I work with Muslim communities, with Muslim women, to empower them to make those decisions, those informed decisions, signposting them to the right places. If someone's, and I'm open 24 hours a day. If someone's, I can get messages at 1:30. I'm really struggling with bedwetting. What can I do? Where can I go? I'm there, and I'm trying to empower that parent that, look, there's this and this and this and this. You can even reach out to this and this and this. This is happening, and it comes from, again, sisterhood. It was about creating a sisterhood within this area for sisters to understand they're not alone in this journey. They're not alone. They now, since being set up, alhamdulillah, there are so many Muslim sisters that I support within it. And alhamdulillah, Allah opens so many opportunities, but the feedback is, gosh, we don't know what we were doing without this support. Because what I love about it is everybody supports each other. So the WhatsApp group is always thriving. There might be a mother on there that's, had that lived experience. Her child is now in their 30s. She'll be jumping in like, look, I went through it's Muslims supporting Muslims, and inshallah this platform will allow us to grow that support, and thrive and help this Muslim community thrive with their neurodivergent child, because I think that's really important, and empower them and encourage them, and help them along that journey, inshallah.
Inshallah. Now,
because obviously there isn't. Sorry, there isn't. Unfortunately, I don't know how widespread it is across the country what you're offering, and I think that needs to be. We need to help create that in different communities, because there was none of that when I was, when my son was young, and this is something that we need to create and expand.
And
make available.
That's the whole reason why I said, okay, fine. There's nothing. I looked for a podcast similar to this, and it seems to be very community specific.
Mm-hmm.
And I was under the impression like, okay, fine. So there's nothing for me, so I'm going to do something about that. But if you are not that sort of way inclined, I wanted it to be for those who are not that way inclined, but will then have a bit more of a voice to speak up, because they've heard what we've had to say, and knowing that it's going to be a fight, they can sort of prepare their armor a lot earlier on.
Definitely. Inshallah. There will be, a hope from this podcast, and inshallah it will grow, but they will feel empowered enough to do that. We will empower mothers to take it on and to build, like you said, that armor, because they know and they get it now. They know what an EHCP plan is. The amount of ladies that don't even know what that is, what the process is, but the information is there, but they can't navigate it. These are the things that matter. These are the things that matter moving forward with your child, and knowing that your child might need to go down that EHCP plan, or not even that. There's other things around that. Before that, what is the process? It's about empowering those parents to understand that, okay, this is where I'm at. This is what we need to go down to help my child. Or this is the route that giving them options and understanding.
Even if we could use the podcast as it gets later on in the stage of creating some sort of flowchart. I see these sorts of behaviors in my child. Where do I go with those behaviors? Where can I take it from here to here? And then a drop down box of this is the location that I will need to go through. Or this is the sister I need to contact within the community because she knows more than I do. And it's having that ability for sisters to step up, because it's not like we're coming from, I'm a Riva, my heritage has always been very, very strong women. But it's even if we look at the Sahabiyat, they were strong women.
Yeah, definitely.
They were ridiculously strong women.
Definitely. And in all aspects as well, sister. In all aspects, spiritually, emotionally,
morally. They were willing to fight in battles. They were doing all sorts. They were doing everything and anything that needed doing for the community to thrive. They were in the trenches with the men. And I think a lot of us have taken on that cultural misappropriation from Hinduism, that women are supposed to be meek and mild and not say anything. I'm not saying that our sisters need to start ripping off hijabs and running in the street and acting crazy, but having that sort of level of professional advocacy for yourself and for your children.
Oh gosh, yeah, definitely.
Is something where you can listen to what the doctor has to say and sort of get to that point and go, I don't agree with you on this, and I don't agree with you on that, and I don't agree with you on that. He or she is not presenting that. They're not presenting this. They're not presenting that. And I think I want to go down an alternative route, or I'd like a second opinion, or I don't think that's the correct course of treatment for my child, and I don't think that's culturally appropriate. Having the know-how and the ability to say something or to voice your opinion is where we need to go.
Yeah, definitely. It's again, this society, the secular society, unfortunately, I feel it disempowers the homemaker, the wife, the mother, and we need to fight that narrative, because we are strong. Those mothers that give up their work just to do for their children, just to do for their home, they are the pillar and the foundation for this ummah. And that this narrative we need to change that as well, so they feel like you shared, they're empowered enough, and they have the ability, and they have the voice. Like we did
it's also the ability of sort of going into places like Masajid and saying to them, well, you're not providing for the entire community. You are not providing for the entire community. And if we say, for instance, there's 100 people in the congregation, at least 5 of those are going to be SEN. So if you are not providing for them, what is your solution? And going up to them and giving them viable solutions. Don't just go with your complaints, but go with viable solutions. Okay, great. I want to go to a Friday talk. I know that you've got a main hall and a secondary hall. No problem. I don't mind if you've got a secondary room where if my child decides it's too much in here, I need to go into a secondary room. You've got that secondary place available for me to sit, still be able to be part of the community, still to hear whatever lecture is going on, still have the ability to engage, whether that's via social media. Our mosque has done something really good. He has something called menti.com. So you log in on your phone, and he's got the screen in front of him, you've got the screen in front of you, and if you've got any secondary questions as to what he's asking, you are able to engage.
Is it something that you like put on a post-it and then they see what's been...
Yes. So even if he posts it, or it's a poll or whatever, if you've had to take your child, say for instance, if the secondary room has been taken up because the congregation is just overly huge, just like a visiting sheikh or whatever, I can still engage from my car.
But it's brilliant. That's what we need. Like another masjid that has done something similar, but not using Menti, but they have a live cast of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So you can listen to that, and even in the comfort of your own home. But you can, every talk, they have brilliant speakers coming in.
Yeah.
But it's all live streamed, so that so nobody is missing out. And what we've done at the masjid is, as well as creating this send session that takes place every Friday, every 2 weeks we do a sisters corner in
Yeah.
the same masjid. We do a sisters corner where everybody's welcome. So we have lots of parents that do have those children. We send adults that also attend, but it's completely safe space. And we wanted to create this space because the voice of the Muslim women were saying that we want to learn.
We need to learn, because if we don't know,
Yeah,
it's the thing that if we don't know and your
yeah,
husband is at work all day, the
yeah.
community stops here. The buck stops there.
And that's it. And that's what we created. We created this space. Like, tomorrow is our sisters' corner. What we're doing, we talked about journaling last time, and then the sisters were like, do you know what? We want to do it together.
Yeah.
We're journaling about Surah Kaf tomorrow, but we know that our kids are going to be safe. There's places for them to run around. They've got a play area. We've got equipment in there. We've got the quiet rooms. It's fully equipped to deal with today's Muslimah and their families. And this is what we need up and down the UK, everywhere, globally. We just need to look at Mus in America. Omar Suleiman's facility. It's amazing. Why is it only one facility? We should have that everywhere.
We should have it everywhere, but it's the idea of what we're coming on to next is the financial constraints.
Yeah.
And that's the issue. That's the issue a lot now, is financial constraints.
Definitely.
When it comes to our communities, because our communities are not doing what they were doing before. I don't think we're valuing education in the way that we did before. We're not valuing in the idea that we may have to fund these therapies out of pocket. It's not something that we can do. But then it's also having that ability where our parents used to have, okay, we're going to fundraise for certain things. We're going to have the ability to have, if this family needs this extra therapy and they can't afford it, can the community subsidize it?
Yeah, yeah.
I think the whole idea of it's become so, I think we've swallowed the pill of this individualization.
Oh gosh, yeah.
We have swallowed that pill wholeheartedly.
Yeah,
Because I know people that won't even help their in-laws.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the idea of if my mother-in-law has passed, so may Allah bless her and give her the highest rank in Jannah. But if she needed something, I would bend over backwards to give it to her, the same way my husband would bend over backwards to give anything to my mom.
Yeah, yeah.
If
I
we're
think
not willing to do that, what are we going to do?
Yeah, we have become a society where each to their own, as the saying goes,
Yeah.
which is really sad. Because we are one ummah, and if one part aches, the other part should feel it. And this is something that's reiterated, any gathering and things like that. We are one ummah. We need to help each other, whether it's emotionally, financially, spiritually. We should be there to support, regardless. But the generations that are coming, it's getting worse. Like,
It is.
what I can say with that is, it's just getting worse. Social media and the society that we live in is just fueling this idea of
Self.
you've got to live once. You live once, and you've got to do what you got to do to make yourself happy, and that's it. And the society now that we live in is that, well, she's got that, I want that. But if she needs, I'm not going to give. It's that type of weird society. Like, we've lost humanity in essence. Would rather film somebody that's fell than actually go and help them. They'd rather film it and upload it and say, oh, look what's happened, than actually help.
We've become bystanders in our own lives.
Yeah, it's strange.
It's a very strange phenomenon. Like, even being born in the 80s to now, I see it's a very, very strange phenomenon. That life has changed so much.
Yeah, so much after millennium.
Everything's gone downhill.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm a very people person, but I love also, watching people, and my friends like, you weirdo, but yeah, but I just love.
Are you that person? No,
And not that person, I think, because I'm really into like the counseling and stuff like that. And inshallah, that's what I do want to help on that level with women as well. But I'm a very people person, but I like to sit back and watch also. So I could spend the whole day just sitting watching, just watching
yeah.
what's going on. And society is definitely drastic.
That sounds like really weird, because I have a good friend of mine and she has a saying, like everybody else says like goodbye and salam alaikum, but
Yeah.
before she says salam alaikum, she says, if I don't see you soon, I'll see you if I don't see you soon, I think I'll see you through the window. So my son, the child that's on the spectrum, he sort of went, is Auntie Jenny a stalker? That's not what she meant. And he went, but she's going to be looking through our windows. That's disturbing. So now, for like a couple of days afterwards, he wouldn't actually take off his clothes in any room that had windows.
No, not
I
for
think she's
like
going to be looking through our windows. He was really concerned, which was so funny. My husband was like, yeah, your friends are weird and they're freaking out our children. So it's nowhere.
kids as well, do they? Like I think my daughter really found it hard to understand sarcasm. Even now, she's just like, she'll just say it as well. Is that supposed to be funny?
Yeah. Are you making a joke or are you being
Yeah.
serious?
Yeah, I'm trying to make these mum jokes, and she's just like, no.
No, it's not working for me, lady. That's what that mind says. It's not working for me, lady. Okay. Okay, sister, we've got a question.
Oh yeah.
Which I spoke to you about. I said to you I had a question before, but this is a specific sister she's struggling with health and hygiene for her son because he's getting bigger.
Okay.
But he has a sensory issue with cutting his nails.
Right.
But then also with haircuts. She says haircutting they've sort of dealt with, but even if she asked her husband in a way to restrain him, he now has this level of brute strength, as a teenager does, which makes it even hard for his dad to hold him.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
She's tried every organization. She's called a clinic. She's called the GP clinic. She's done, and there's no actual support. She said she feels a bit brain dead and she doesn't know. And it's an end of that she becomes occupied with and fixated on this one particular thing and then forgets to enjoy her son. She's asking for dua, but then she's also asking, does anyone have any real idea of what to do? Because even things like sleep, he won't sleep until midnight, and sometimes it's 2:30 in the morning, and she won't keep him, and she cannot leave him awake safely and go to bed herself. So that means her own sleep is then being delayed till 2:30 in the morning.
Are you going to answer that first, or should I answer?
Either of you go first.
Yeah. So, is it a sensory issue with the hair? Because if it is, then what I found worked with my son was to distract him by getting him to watch something or do something while I did the hair. Also, to put this kind of, like a cap, it's like I don't know if I made it or whether I found it, where it's some kind of plastic thing where you put it's like some people use in the shower to stop the soap going in the eyes. So I had to put that on his so that the hair didn't go on the face, because often children with autism can't bear the feeling of the hair falling on their face. It's really painful. So I put this, it's like a cap thing, but it's like I don't describe it. So the top bit where the head is open, but it's like so you could put this peak thing around it, and I also had to
like
put
a headband sort of idea, but made out of.
But it's got a cap, so the hair doesn't fall on the child or the young person. And the other thing I did was I used to put a sheet around him, because he couldn't bear the hair falling on his arms. It was really itchy and whatever. So I used to put a sheet all around him, and I used to make him watch. I used to like Doctor Who, whatever it was, at the same time, because he used to find it very painful when doing the hair. So either I used to try and talk to him, or but best thing was distraction. So if they don't want to put the TV on or something that they like doing, and like I said, the main thing is to make sure that the hair does not fall on the person, because that's what drives them nuts. And also to be very careful when you're cutting, because if it nips them, then it makes them even more phobic about having it done. So I think one of the things was the hum thing, the noise.
Yeah.
So if you can, like, if it's possible now to get ones which are silent, that's very good.
Yeah.
And the other thing is being careful about not cutting, also stretching it. So when you're doing the back of the neck, you have to stretch it so that it doesn't nip the skin.
Okay.
And I found that, you know, in the end that helped. And
Do you have any...
eventually years later, now he does go to a barber. But for years, I mean, I think it's only been 3 years, I think, since he went to a barber, but all the rest of the time I had to cut it. And it was very stressful because it, you know, he used to get very distressed, and because of the sensory side of it. So that may help.
Do you have
What was
any
the other question?
know-how about cutting his fingernails and toenails?
Yeah, so what I found with that was, because I used to try and use scissors, and that was, ended up cutting badly. So clippers, it's easier. You know, the finger clippers, they were much
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
And also a nail file. If they find that hard, then trying to use a nail file to do it
Okay.
is makes it easier. And again, it's distraction and putting something on that they like to do, or, you know, and try and get them to be calm. Another thing to do is to make, before, if he's agitated, is to try and make him start the washing machine, and then get him to lift the heavy stuff, lift a few heavy things. That makes them calmer.
Okay.
It gives what's called proprioceptive input,
Yeah.
and then that calms them down, and then you can maybe do it. And also, yes, do it after a shower, then it's less painful because it's soft then.
Okay, well done. Well, Jazakallah khair for that. Do you have anything about sleep?
Oh, sleep.
Sleep
Oh
seems
my
to be an
God.
issue for everybody. We're gonna have to do a whole episode on sleep.
Yeah. Oh my God. I remember being woken up at 4 o'clock in the. I remember being woken up at 4 o'clock in the morning to be asked, "What time is it in Japan now?"
Yes.
What?
Oh wow, I'm not the
So
only one.
like,
That's great. That,
yeah.
you
So
see, even things like that gives me great comfort in knowing that I'm not the only one going through this.
right. So but the thing is to tie them out.
Yeah. Yeah.
and not give things like
Any sort of sugar, something that's going to metabolize into sugar.
yes. And they said, I remember the thing, don't give blackcurrant, don't give orange juice, not to go on the phones and anything like,
Yeah.
which is
Screens.
electronic device, computers, for at least 3 hours before they sleep, which is hard. And also give them a bath, make them have a bath before they go to sleep, about an hour or 2 hours before. That helps calm them down.
Yeah.
Don't do anything, don't have to do fun things before, like, you know, like things that will get them animated before sleep. Like, you know, sometimes dads come home and think, oh yeah, let's start playing ball or something. I mean, they're gonna get all excited. You know, no, you have to do things that are like soothing, calming, and try and get them tired out. And don't let them sleep in the afternoon. Really important. I don't know how they are, but do not let them sleep in the afternoon. Otherwise, they'll be up all night.
That's the thing you need to. I think I need to reiterate that for my husband. Please do not come home and start wrestling with the boys.
Yeah, do it in the morning on a
They need to
weekend.
go to bed. Like,
yeah, do it in the morning on a weekend, not
you.
evening.
Thank you. But I like wrestling with them, and they like wrestling. I was like, yes, but I like to sleep.
Yes, morning.
Mum needs to sleep, because when you go off in the morning, it's still mum. I've still got businesses to run, and WhatsApp groups to answer questions, and everything else to do. And you are basically having a break at work. Okay,
I mean, sleep is still a problem. I mean, sleep is still a problem. He sleeps all over the place, but at least he can kind of occupy himself now. But at that age, you know, they need, you know, it's different. So if they try those things, hopefully they'll help.
So I'll repeat.
Especially the bath.
Bath.
Yeah, or shower. Yeah, that helps.
No,
you know, it's relaxing.
You can get in touch with sleep charities. So Riva is a really good one. I would start with the hair first.
Yeah.
If it's really bothering her, I think she should go with the child. If he doesn't want to get it cut, that overstimulation is going to cause more mental damage and more trauma to the child. So she can try things like dry washing it, just to keep it dry. I know she's struggling with the hygiene side of it, but if it's the fact that he doesn't like washing it and the smell and things like that that are coming from the hair, because that is a big issue. We've tackled this once before. There's a child that we recently dealt with. He's not had a bath for 1.5 years, a full bath.
Wow.
Hair, everything. This boy would not shower. So ways around that is that if it is a sensory issue around him getting his hair cut or washing it, you can actually spray it with apple cider vinegar. There's natural things that you can use to freshen up the hair instead of putting him through the whole process of cutting it. Because that will build resentment. He's getting bigger, and we've got to remember aggression in neurodiverse children it's real. It's
I think that's
real.
what she's dealing with at the
Yeah,
moment.
it's real.
And
So
they're really strong from really young.
yeah. So one of the cases that I've dealt with, it's heartbreaking. So I would tell her on that stance that he is getting older, lay off maybe the restraining side of things just to get his haircut. Is it worth it? Is that haircut? The question needs to be asked, is it worth it? Is it other things that we can do to tackle it, like the sprays, the natural sprays, the rosemary sprays that can help, the apple cider vinegar to keep the fresh scalp. These are things that maybe she needs to look into. When it comes to showering can be overstimulating for some children. So I don't know the personal circumstances of the sister and her child. Showers can be overstimulating or understimulating. For my daughter, she used to absolutely hate showers because it would keep her awake. But now she's at a stage where she loves a shower before bed because it helps her sleep. So know where your child's at when it comes to showering.
And they change so quickly.
Oh yeah, they can change in a day.
Blink of an eye. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay, 1 minute I hate a shower. Next minute I need to be in there for 3 hours. Why
It's
are you
3 hours.
still in the shower?
Yeah, exactly. So it changes. So knowing what her child likes. When it comes to the nail, there is this file that you can. It literally. So sometimes it's the actual clipping noise. The scissors, the clipping noise, the click click click, and oh my gosh, you're gonna cut my skin. There's all that. There's actually a baby. There's like a skin friendly file that you can get, electronic file.
Okay.
So I don't know if she's tried it. Worth asking the question.
I'll have a look at it on show notes. Yeah.
Can literally just file the nail down, but it doesn't damage the skin. It's soft on the skin. Files the nails right down. And social stories. Yes, he might be big. He might be a teenager.
Yes, yeah.
Kind of get a social story in place, that this is why it's so important to keep good hygiene. This is why it's so important to cut your nails because of the germs, because of da. However she wants to do it. When it comes to sleep, magnesium, sleep diet is really important. Sleep hygiene is really important. Sticking to a routine and keeping to the routine is key. Certain foods will help induce melatonin because it's a melatonin production that is not there to induce the sleep. Getting in touch with the circadian rhythm is really important. These are all important factors. Now, I don't know her in-depth situation, but I'll just a few. So sleep diet-wise, introducing bananas, high fibrous food like Weetabix, warm milk, honey. These are melatonin inducing foods. Brazil nuts, another melatonin inducing food. Magnesium chews help produce melatonin, help bring on sleep. Another great thing, you can buy them in chewy, so they're like a chewy sweet. You can also get the oil that you can massage. So he's in his teenagers, so the oil will be safe to use on his skin. He can put it on himself. She can do it for him. His dad can do it. However they see fit. But as an oil, you spray it on, it absorbs into the skin. Magnesium really helps with sleep as well. And like I said, if he does like a soak in the bath, you can get magnesium salts. They also are really good for sleep. There's also something that they've released is magnesium patches that you wear on the skin, and that's supposed to have the lavender scented. So these are all things, and obviously the diet, screen time. There's some evidence that has come out that actually some autistic children actually need the screen to switch off. And one child that I'm supporting, he actually needs the iPad right next to his head, and he falls asleep watching it. That's the only way he falls asleep. It's not habitual. It's not been done. It's just, this is just how he needs to fall asleep. So if you follow something called Spectrum Gaming, they've done really massive kind of studies into spectrum gaming and autistic children, neurodivergent children, and gaming and computing and the link between the two as well. Really interesting. Have a look at their thing. But yeah, it might be that he just needs downtime. Are they giving him downtime from being at school all day or whatever engagement he has all day? Or it might be the opposite. Yes, it might be stimulating. So then keeping that low grade activity a few hours before sleep. And in the bedroom, another massive thing, no toys, no stimulants. Keep the bed very, very simple, keep it neutral colors. Any lights that might be in there from TVs or anything, they say go for orange glow light. That is more likely to induce sleep than bright white light. Keep it very, very dim, no stimuli, no nothing that can be distracting. And reiterate to the child that the bedroom is solely for sleeping. Solely for sleeping. It has no other purpose. It is solely for sleeping. And you know, if all else fails, I had to go down the route of, this is before I educated myself, right? This is when I was at that young parent thinking, what do I do? I tried everything, and you know what I thought was everything. I had to give my child melatonin. Not the end of the world, because she doesn't have it now. It was a very short period of time, but I remember like having to sit for 2-3 hours to fall asleep with my child. And have like, and then slowly move away. You know what it's like, ladies, you've not ate all day.
Oh yeah, when you have a newborn.
Yeah, you know, even you, she done this up to the age of like 7 or 8. I would like slide back. I would like literally have 20 minutes, Ritala, quickly, and then the monitor would go off, or she would come downstairs. Where are you? Like, she had massive sleep anxiety issues. She's now going out, but I remember giving her melatonin. Obviously, it's a prescription drug. You all know that. And I cried because she fell asleep within half an hour, and I wasn't used to it. And I was like, whoa.
It's overwhelming, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because I'd been doing it for years. Like, I think she was 8 or 7. I can't remember. But, you know, I had been doing it for years, putting my child to sleep. And, you know, I remember the tears that I cried and everything like that. But yeah, I had to go down the route of melatonin, which sometimes you need to do. And I would advise this sister as well, is that if she's struggling, please, please, please get a carer's assessment done. If he's not sleeping at night and she feels that it's unsafe, I strongly say that, you know, get a carer's assessment done. Get an assessment done. Does he need additional support at home? Does he need a carer with him at home? If she's saying that she is not being able to sleep, she can't leave his side, does she might, from what the small bit that you've told me about this sister, about the struggle that she is going through and everything within the home, does she need a carer's assessment? You know, that's something that we maybe need to she maybe need to think about as well, inshallah. You know, it's not all bad. People think, oh, social services and this is it. It's not, you know, they do try as well. And, you know, if you do need that help, and, you know, we don't want it to get to, and I've dealt with that as well, it's got to crisis point. This child's lashed out. He said this child had a grandparent. Police got involved. You know, it got really, really messy because parents didn't know that social services don't just take children away, or they don't do all this bad stuff. They're actually there to kind of keep you together but support you at the same time. So, you know, it is that as well. We've got the stigma around social services and what they do, but, you know, they do work, they do stuff to really, really help as well. So reaching out and maybe getting that support and in place as well. That does she need this carer's assessment done to kind of help her as well. So there is another charity, I don't know if it operates in that area, but it's called Big Listen, and they work with teenagers and their anger or any issues that they're facing. They really they kind of listen to them and kind of help families work through any issues that might be going on within the family. But again, I don't know if it's in the area that sister is in, and I don't know if they support that area that she's in. So them ones I can't answer, but I hope that's kind of helped answer some of the questions and kind of help that sister kind of put her mind at ease. And again, sister, I'm open to anybody in the UK. You know, you know, if the sister wants to reach out and she doesn't want me to speak to her, I'm more than happy to help, inshallah, as well.
Jazakallah khair. Can I have both of you email me all of your contact details and how to contact you? We can call this the best thing ever. I'm so glad we got to do this. But Maghrib is kicking in for all of us right now. So the best thing for us to do is to wrap it up here. Say our salams. So thank you so much, ladies, for making this so successful for the first time running. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.